as a result of the African American Task Force, which was created by the Delaware Legislative Black Caucus in conjunction with our Justice for All agenda. I am your chair, Sherry Dorsey Walker, representative of the 3rd District. And what we can do is Ms. Del Carlo, if she doesn't mind calling the roll for those who are currently present? I'd greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We'll start with you, Madam Chair.
Present.
Siobhan White. Charlie Weatherspoon.
Present.
Kyle Myers.
Present.
Luvi Morley.
Present.
Dr. Melinda Hudson. Jane Hovington. Representative Larry Lambert.
Present.
Dr. Dan Young.
Present.
Dr. Brittany Hazard.
Present.
Clay Hammond. Eunice Guamesia. Rick Deadweiler. Secretary Carol Hubbard. Karen Burton.
Present.
Representative Mike Smith.
Present.
Representative Bill Bush. Representative Medina Wilson Anton. And Madam Chair, we also have somebody who's called in. I'm not sure if this is a member, so I'm going to allow them to speak real quick so they can identify themselves.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. This is Dr. Melinda Hudson.
Thank you. And so I believe we do now have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Del Carlo. And thank you to all of the members of the subcommittee who have joined us on this evening. And if I may please get a motion to approve the minutes from our May 27th, 2021 meeting, which was the birthday of one of our subcommittee members, Ms. Karen Burton. I'm wondering if we could be on mute if we're not speaking, please, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much.
This is Kyle Myers. I make a motion to allow the meeting minutes into make them official.
Charlie Weatherspoon, second.
I believe that was subcommittee member Mr. Myers who made the motion, seconded by the Honorable Charlie Weatherspoon. All in favor, salute with your silence. The meeting minutes have been approved. Thank you. And the purpose of today's meeting, and thank you, Ms. Del Carlo and Mrs. Diaz for helping to organize this, as well as Ms. Green, is to review our previous meetings and discussion of potential recommendations. I know we had previously discussed, one of the things we discussed is including making sure that there were economic opportunities for people of color in particular. And I would like to say a special thank you to Representative Mike Smith, who did a really good job representing this committee and our body, our members of the House, at this bill signing for Senate Bill 127. If Representative Smith is available just for a couple of minutes to talk about that particular bill, I greatly appreciate it, because if I'm not mistaken, he is one of the co-prime sponsors on that legislation. Representative Smith, may I turn it over to you, sir?
Sure, and I apologize. I'm dealing with an air conditioning issue, so I'm off screen currently.
No problem.
Yes, but I think it's a big deal for Delaware and for small business growth locally, and for us, our ability to get folks that want to, land in Delaware. I think it's something that we have had a competitive imbalance with for a pretty long time, almost 20 years now. So it was great that we were able to get it in the budget and get this passed so that we no longer have to do that. As we've talked about in this committee, and many people have thought for a long time, if we can't get we can't get things built and ready to go within 6 months, sometimes a 12-month window, we're just going to miss out and continue to miss out on opportunities. So, continue to working with the counties and the Delaware Business Roundtables and the Prosperity Partnership and others. Hopefully, we can use this as another tool in the tool belt to keep companies here. I think more importantly, I think that's one of my biggest focuses. We're always going to grow our economy more when we grow our own more and give our own more opportunities. But it's also going to be helpful in us landing companies. So it was good to be there at First State Brewing Company with everyone from different sides of the aisle, all there for a common goal. And that's something we should all be happy about.
Thank you, Representative Smith. Greatly appreciate that. Representative Smith, there are members of this subcommittee who are wondering, how does one gain access to those funds? And in particular, there are some opportunities that are right on the table right now, shovel-ready projects, if you will. How would an entity go about moving to Delaware and ensuring that they can get a portion of those funds? And what's the time frame for receiving those funds? Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the time frame yet, only because we just signed it, but I do know we want to go through the Division of Small Business and the Delaware Prosperity Partnership. Those are kind of the two entry points they're kind of requesting people to go through. I would say people reach out to our offices as well, if there's any issues, and we can help kind of navigate that. But I think the Division of Small Business will be the one who ends up probably distributing the funds and it going that way. But I think Kurt Foreman's group is the one that's really focused on the landing, and the Division of Small Business really focused on the retaining and growth folks. So those two collectively, and as everybody knows, those are the two groups that were kind of divided out of the former Delaware Economic Development Office through the public-private partnership. And that's why those two are kind of the branch that we need to go to.
Thank you, Representative Smith. Really appreciate your assistance with that particular piece of legislation. And as a reminder, that's Senate Bill 127. Do any other committee members have any questions regarding that particular piece of legislation, for which we are very grateful that two members of our subcommittee, Representative Smith and Representative Bush, both were co-prime sponsors on that?
Yes, I have a question. May I address?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Representative Smith, from someone who has not read the Senate bill and gone all through that, and I know that you said in order for an individual to gain access to funding, they can go through the Delaware Small Business or the public-private partnership. Within that bill, are you able to either email all of the committee members that's on this call a kind of short list of the checklist of the criteria for qualifications? For instance, if you are a startup business or if you are a business that wants to relocate to Delaware and your employees could be within the factor of anywhere from 1 to 15 employees, or it could be anywhere from 100 plus. Can you at least let us know what the incentivized factor would be, not to just relocate your business into the state of Delaware, but also as far as the growth of the business? Is all of that in that Senate plan? And if yes, can you just send us kind of like a checklist?
So quick answer, yeah, I'll send you everything in kind of a short format, so that way you don't have to take the whole thing and give everyone kind of the criteria that's laid out.
Yeah.
It has some of that in there, but not all of it. It's not treated like we've done it previously, where you say this many jobs, you get this many type of dollars or anything like that. It's not treated kind of like the old economic development model, but it is similar in terms of growth with employees. It's more of getting, it's more ready for it. It's less about employees and more about the site itself. So, do you have, are all the utilities and things like that available for you to do business? So it's more to get the site ready so that you can grow immediately, but also there in case, let's say you overgrow and then you had to leave, right? So I'll send you all that criteria as a follow-up.
Okay, and you also mention about retention. So I understand how there is an opportunity for not just new business, but you also talked about retention and possibly expansion, if I'm correct. If not, please
Yeah,
correct me. But on the
yeah.
retention side, for an existing business that is there, has the bricks and mortar, how does it work for them?
Well, so I guess it's going to be circumstantial depending on what type of company it is, what sector, right? I mean, if you're in bricks and mortar, but you need to grow and you need to go to a new site, the idea is that money would be put in to that site to create the utilities, brick and mortar infrastructure, so that then you're able to get there within a reasonable time frame and work with that county or municipality in order to get the partnerships, created so that you're in there within that time frame. Everyone's example is Middletown because they kind of move earth to do things quicker, and I think everyone's trying to get the counties to kind of jump on board and follow that sort of a model. But that's where the money would flow into that site that we're trying to get you relocated to retain you in our state.
Okay, and even if you're going to expand into a new business opportunity, it still applies for an
Yeah,
existing.
it still applies. You'd probably be actually you'd probably have other opportunities available to you in that situation as well through the Division of Small Business.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from any other subcommittee members? Thank you, Ms. Burton, for those questions. Thank you so much, Representative Smith, for your thorough explanation of Senate Bill 127.
Sure.
I would like to highlight just another piece of legislation sponsored by a member of the subcommittee, and that is Representative Larry Lambert's legislation. Representative Lambert, please forgive me for the bill number is escaping me, but I do know that it is Justice 40 legislation, and it definitely impacts this particular subcommittee. May I give you the floor so you can explain the bill, please, sir, and how it impacts economic opportunities in the state?
Absolutely. I want to thank you, Madam Chair, for this opportunity. The bill is House Concurrent Resolution 40. That is the Justice 40 Oversight Committee. President Biden, when he first came into office, in the first 3 days in office, he introduced Executive Order Justice 40, which establishes that when it comes to federal dollars around dealing with climate change, dealing with green jobs, green energy, infrastructure, that 40% of those funds go to overburden disadvantaged communities, low-income communities, I should say. So Delaware, I was blessed to work with members of our General Assembly, and we also got good input from the constituents. Delaware was the first state to establish a Justice 40 Oversight Committee where a group of legislators, community advocates were all able to, Department of Housing, DNREC, DEMA, were all able to come together to establish that task force and provide findings and recommendations to the General Assembly. So right now I'm in the process of doing some of the groundwork to lay that out. And I would appreciate members of, even our committee here potentially being a part of that as we proceed forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Does anyone have any questions for Representative Lambert? And Representative Lambert, thank you for the reminder of HCR 40, hence Justice 40. As soon as you said it, I was like, I remember the bill number. Any subcommittee members have any questions for Representative Lambert regarding that particular piece of legislation and how it impacts this? I'm sorry.
So this is Louie. Maybe I'll talk to him in depth offline, but recently we added a smart solar energy, smart solar light pole that has Wi-Fi and everything to it. I'd like to share that with you. When you're looking at connectivity in areas that are hit hard, the funds, alternative energy and renewables are kind of a big deal. So I'd like to share that with you later on. I plan to present it today, but I'm actually on the road, so I'm not able to present that. But super excited about what I've heard so far from the gentleman who spoke first and Larry. So this is really good stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Morley. Does anyone else, and Mr. Morley, at the end of this subcommittee meeting, we would like to give you 5 minutes to talk about the initiatives on which you're currently working and how that impacts this particular committee, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, that's fine. I would just, I had a slide, but I don't have it with me. So I would just,
Okay.
I guess talk about some key points.
Okay. All right. Does anyone have any questions about the Justice 40 legislation? Excellent. I wanted to give our subcommittee members the opportunity to highlight legislation on which they had been working. I'm just really proud of our subcommittee members and the work that we've been able to get done this year. And of course, today's meeting is to talk about possible recommendations as we move forward. Representative Bush did bring to my attention, he thought that it would be a good idea to try to get opportunities for people of color as it pertains to the fast food industry, and ensuring that those opportunities exist for people of color up and down the state. And I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that in his absence today. That was one of the ideas. The other one is, and that'll be a piece of legislation that actually comes from this particular subcommittee, is vetting out the Justice for Black Farmers Act. I'm working on that throughout the summer with many of you, and ensuring that we have approximately 8 Black farmers in this state. And they have not had some of the same opportunities as some of their colleagues. And we actually devoted 2 meetings to Black farmers. And by God's grace and mercy, we do have an outstanding Secretary of Agriculture and Deputy Secretary of Agriculture who have agreed to work on this piece of legislation with us to ensure that it is brought to fruition in the 2022 legislative session, part of the 151st General Assembly. Are there any questions, or does anyone have any input about that particular piece of legislation that will be forthcoming from this body? I want to give everyone an opportunity before we move to the next. Excellent. We actually have vetted that. So the Justice for Black Farmers will be forthcoming in 2022. I would like to open it up to any of the subcommittee members at this point who have recommendations or ideas based on some things that we previously discussed, or if you have any other additional recommendations, this is the time to share that. Thank you so very much.
May I present an idea?
Certainly, Ms. Burton.
What about franchising opportunities in the state of Delaware for African Americans? If there's something that we could explore and how that would work with a lot of the already resources that have been enveloped into assisting African Americans. But I do believe that on the aspect of franchising, there's an opportunity for us to investigate how we can position potential opportunities for African Americans in that industry.
And Ms. Burton, are you suggesting that we do that legislatively, or that we do it in conjunction with the legislation that is currently in existence, such as Senate Bill 127, Representative Smith shared with us?
In conjunction with, but when you are looking in the industry of franchises, there's disparity there as well for African Americans on the aspect of funding. So, and perhaps I misunderstood the agenda for this evening. I thought of potential recommendations of ideas that we could begin to work upon or address.
You're correct, Ms. Burton.
Okay.
Yes, your interpretation is correct. So we're saying franchising. I think I mentioned that a little earlier. That was one of the recommendations from Representative Bush, Representative Bill Bush. Franchising I think I actually said fast food
Fast
restaurants,
food industry, yeah.
but Ms. Burton, I believe franchise is the better term to use in this moment. Dr. Young, did you have any other recommendations that we could potentially put forth legislatively going into 2022?
I mean, I think that overall, looking at the different things that we've discussed over the last couple months, it really comes down to access, education, and financing. I know that probably in the first or second meeting that we had, Mr. Myers had mentioned, accessing primarily Black sources of revenue from other states in the form of banking and things of that nature. And one of the things that I've always been very passionate about is looking at trying to get a Black-owned credit union in Delaware established. I think there's some things that we can do educationally that don't have to be policy driven. And there's some things that we can do in terms of access with the great work of people like Representative Smith. But possibly from a policy perspective, providing some of those incentives for the creation of Black-owned banks, Black-owned credit unions, Black-owned angel investment groups, venture capital firms, where they have an even higher degree of oversight and responsibility and accountability to putting dollars in the hands of Black-owned businesses. One of the things that we're doing at Goldie Beacom College is a joint program with DelDOT and Department of Labor to help DBEs in the form of Black-owned business, Black and female-owned business contractors and builders. One of those major concerns is we're providing education, we're helping them get access, but one of the major challenges is once you start one of those projects, as you finish it and you need to pay the folks who are working on those sites, it's very easy to run out of money because you're waiting to get paid from the ultimate person writing the checks. So having some level of bridge financing, potentially from a credit union or a bank, is really the only way to compete long term. So I think if legislatively, and certainly in all these things, the legislative aspect is my weak point, not my strong point, not like you, Representative Dorsey Walker. I think if we can create some opportunities to organize and incentivize the creation of credit unions, banks, venture capital, angel investment, to grow that pool of money, I think it allows us the final cog we need, because I think a lot of people have really rallied around more access and more education.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Young. Senator Pinckney and I are going to be working on legislation about actually creating opportunities for Black-owned credit unions to be welcomed into Delaware and to have that option. And I would like to extend the offer to you to help us craft that legislation, and any other member of this subcommittee who would like to work with us on that piece of legislation.
I would love to. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
I'm happy to help.
This is Luby.
Representative.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Representative Lambert. Yes, sir, Mr. Morley.
I would like to add, in addition to what he said, so with DelDOT, and I have a similar problem now with the contract I just finished. So I was a sub, now the prime is saying, oh, yeah, when we get paid, then we pay you, and I have to float that funds. Luckily, we have a little bit of funds. So with DelDOT has a goal. If they can just tell the prime contractors they need to meet the goal. So with legislation, maybe meet the goal, where similar thing to do in Maryland, they're telling these primes you need to meet the goal so they can go out there and truly give opportunities to minority businesses. Because what you realize most of the time, their outreach is a good faith effort. So they really did not, make that much of an effort. And a lot of these contracts they get waivers for, but if they were to meet those goals, I think there'll be a lot of opportunities for guys like us, where we're not just doing one contract a year, but you're having multiple contracts, and you're able to go to a bank, because when you go to a bank, they're going to want to see net positive cash flow. The working capital you need, something along those lines, just because Delta does a lot of projects, unlike City of Wilmington, just tell them, hey, you have to meet this goal. They do it in Maryland, they do it in Philly. Prime contractors have no problem meeting those goals on contracts they want in different states. Why should it be a problem here?
Excellent question, Mr. Morley. Part and parcel, well, you mentioned 2 jurisdictions.
No. The last part was not a question. It was just, I guess, finishing with the period, right?
Oh, okay. Well, excellent statement. So the 2 jurisdictions you mentioned Maryland has the highest number of Black legislators in the country. Hence them being able to establish a quote unquote quota for the state to have a portion of procurement opportunities to go to Black people, Hispanic, people of color, but in particular, African Americans or Black people. Philadelphia has a large concentration of Black elected officials as well. That has a lot to do with the opportunities that you're mentioning. We have 12 in the state of Delaware in legislative hall. It's just being very honest about the dynamics. So there's a lot that needs to shift in Delaware. And then we have to really get some legislators to the place of this isn't taking anything away from someone else, but creating opportunities for all constituents. I hope that was helpful for you, Mr. Morley.
Absolutely, it is.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for those comments.
May I please ask Mr. Morley a question for
Certainly, Ms.
clarification? Mr. Morley, did you say that you were a sub under a prime and the prime stated they could not pay you because they had not yet been paid?
So most primes, everybody that works on a job, subs, they pay you based on the funds from that contract. So now the contract is over, they bill the owner of the contract, which is City of Wilmington. City of Wilmington has 30 days to pay. So it was just a conversation. I know the owner, he's not going to stiff me or anything. And it's not like a fighting situation because the money is not that substantial, right? It's more for me to build a relationship with these guys. But if you have that similar situation with someone that you're not friends with and the number is a bigger amount, right? Hundreds of thousands of dollars, you're just not going to be able to survive as a small business, a Black business.
Right. So thank you. I needed clarity on that because then there is an opportunity to create legislation that would support subcontractors being paid within a certain amount of time without doing the net 30 days. In my opinion, a prime contractor should not be awarded that project unless they have funds available to pay subs without having to bill the city and be reimbursed. That is my professional opinion on it. And I've worked in assisting subcontractors in the city of Wilmington in the mayor's office of economic development. So I knew what the managers that manage over that process would go above and beyond to ensure that subs were always paid, including making calls to the primes as well. So that's unexcusable for anyone to be awarded a project that would delay the payment of a subcontractor, understanding that they needed to make their quota. So there's an opportunity for us to review the possibility of legislation where that's concerned.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Burton. So what you're saying is primes cannot delay payment to subcontractors for more than 30 days or 31 days. What would be the preference of this subcommittee?
I think there's an opportunity for us all to review what that would look like the first thing that's coming to my mind is dependent upon the threshold of the award of the project. If we're talking primes that have been in existence for over 15 years, they should have a bank account that would simply state they're able to pay their subs based upon the value of that contract. They know what they're going to be billing the city because they do a drawdown on the purchase order that they submit their contract for so they can do the drawdown. And in most cases, the subs are not being paid because the primes are not doing the operational end and submitting those invoices on time. So it is not the fault of the sub, it is the fault of the prime, and they must be held accountable.
Okay. So
Yeah, excuse me, I think, Karen, you bring an excellent point, but I think what we're really dealing with, and Kyle talks about all the time, is your basic concept of just finance. What you don't have, because the prime will start saying, well, look, if you can't carry on, I'm not going to do certain things. So they'll do that thing, but it's that whole cycle, because Louis, or a small company, can't go out and get working capital financing. That's business 101, is the fact that I got money to pay my people because I got, just like the prime or the subprime, whoever the sub, they always have that in their bank. What it is that with the subcontractors, they're just, pretty much, from paycheck to paycheck. And what you really got to do to really solve the problem is create greater financial opportunities for folks who don't have the wherewithal to get that working capital. So you need to put something in place that says, okay, you got a legitimate contract, you're doing certain things, you got a record, you may not be able to do certain things, but we as a micro lender or somebody can pretty much take risk on that. If it's 30 days, it's 45, because this happens in business all the time. You're doing business and you're saying 30 days, the government is worse than anybody about time and paying folks. So the whole issue is how do you kind of gap that with traditional financing? And traditional financing doesn't really deal that well with the smaller entities because they don't have that type of bandwidth. So it's pretty much it's an issue like you talked about, but it's a deeper issue in the sense of as a small company, my ability to go out and seek certain resources, and in the regular business world, it's just working capital, which means you have enough to get through 60 days or such and such without it being a payday loan. So there's a lot of things that have to be dealt with from that perspective. We have to clean up to make it really, really work.
I agree, Sir Charlie, on that wholeheartedly. I think that there is definitely an opportunity of possibly a twofold or threefold where this is concerned. Yep. I'm concerned, my focus is on what was just presented, and that is the prime contractors stating to the subs that they cannot pay them because they have not been paid yet. Again, for those prime contractors who have been an established business, there is no justification for that comment that they're making to a sub. And legislation with that concern, we just need to review what would be the best wording that would be appropriate for all parties intended.
Agreed.
Ms. Burton, as we are working with the attorneys to craft the legislation, I think I heard you volunteer yourself to participate with those meetings. That's what I think I heard.
You absolutely did.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I think I also heard Sir Charlie volunteer as well on his second fold.
But it sounds like, and Representative Lambert and Representative Smith helped me with this, it sounds like this may need to be maybe two pieces of legislation versus just one big one. What are your thoughts about breaking it out as suggested by Sir Charlie versus one big piece of legislation that ultimately ends up getting watered down in the end? Will you please share your thoughts?
Yeah, breaking it out, I think, is always a good strategy, because that way you're guaranteed to get at least one piece through probably pretty quickly and not water down the other, whichever ends up being, the piece that people have the most heartburn about. So I think it'd be a better approach that way.
Thank you, Representative Smith. Representative Lambert?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we do have to make sure that the primes are paying on time or in a reasonable amount of time.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. So I think I have my co-prime sponsors on this piece of legislation. I believe I do anyway. I see the smiles. And I just want to go back really quickly. We were talking about public banking. I did want to mention that we have two members of the subcommittee who are currently working on that legislation with me. Subcommittee member Kyle Myers and subcommittee member Rick Detweiler are working on that. So if anyone else wants to work on that legislation with Senator Pinckney and myself, and Representative Lambert also agreed this evening, please feel free to just reach out to myself or Ms. Sienna Green, my legislative aide, so we can ensure that you are in attendance for the meetings and that we keep you updated if you're unable to attend the meetings, but you're aware of what's happening with the legislation. Dr. Hazard and Dr. Hudson, is there anything that we missed that you think needs to be a focus of legislation going into 2022 regarding economics, economic development, economic empowerment, and in particular in the Sussex community? Please feel free to come off and share your thoughts.
Hi, Representative, and thank you for this opportunity. I just wanted to kind of bring back the conversation we spoke about. It's been a few months where we had that energy around how to support our youth of color with growing in this field so that they can then be the individuals who carry on all this great work.
May I just please encourage everyone to unmute if you're not speaking? Thank you so very much.
Can you hear me clearly?
You know what, there is a bit of an echo. Again, if I could just encourage everyone to just go on mute if you're not speaking. Please and thank you. Dr. Hazard, the floor is yours, ma'am.
Yes. So my idea, we talked about a lot earlier, and I know we had a lot of feedback from our subcommittee on thoughts about how to go about it, but just something to keep in mind in order to keep these, these businesses and all this great work that everyone from our subcommittee and those in our community and our state are doing, we have to figure out a way to sustain it. To make sure that we can provide that education to our young people, but not just the education, the opportunities in their youth that will allow them to be interested and to carry those ideas and thoughts forward young adulthood.
Thank you, Dr. Hazard. I would like to say that House Bill 198 was birthed in this particular subcommittee, and that's the bill that added Black history to the state's curriculum. So I would like to thank everyone in this who's a part of this subcommittee for all your work on that particular bill.
Extremely excited about that, and I appreciate just what you do, your vision, and the subcommittee's vision as well. And that's all I wanted to share about the youth in regards to the economic development. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you, Dr. Hazard. Dr. Hudson, is there anything that we missed regarding Sussex we never want to leave out? Our southern.
My apologies. I'm driving and moving along. I don't mean to disrupt anyone during the conversation, so I apologize for that. I'm not sure this is something that the committee would, what angle or how we would be able to tie this in with an economic, but there are some initiatives that I've been a part of, that I am a part of, where higher education is, more opportunities for higher education are being offered in the prisons. The Second Chance Pell Program being offered through Delaware Tech. And recently Delaware State is looking into offering an inside out higher education opportunity. I am currently pursuing an MSW, and I've been doing an internship with Southern Delaware Alliance for Racial Justice. One of the things that we've been focusing is how to provide community support in that transition process. When you have individuals transitioning from the prison environment back into their communities, how to support them and assist them with maintaining that education initiative, continuing and completing that education initiative. So I'm not sure what the legislation would look like to support that process, or if there's anything that could be done through this committee to support that process. But I wanted to put it out there and just have everyone consider it, think about it, to see if there's anything we can do, because we know that education has the opportunity or the ability to change the outlook totally. And these are great opportunities that now are being offered again while individuals are receiving are incarcerated and then transitioning to the community. And this is opportunities for them to gain a degree. An associate's degree in human services is what Delaware Tech is initially offering. Delaware State is looking at the criminal justice or social work degrees to be able to offer when they have their program up and running. And I just wondered if there was anything we could offer economically that would assist these individuals when they transition to the community to help support them and keep them in the mindset of finishing that education.
Dr. Hudson, I think that's an outstanding idea. And ultimately, what I believe is we did have a program like that prior to Representative Lambert, Representative Smith, and myself coming to Dover. And I see this as a golden opportunity to bring it back, and we could potentially bring it back through this subcommittee. I believe, and my colleagues in the legislature can help me with this, there would more than likely be a fiscal note attached to this, because I don't believe that the schools could do this for free going into the prisons. So we would have to talk to the Office of Management and Budget about what it would look like to implement this program. But I actually think this is a great start.
Representative Dorsey,
yes, ma'am.
Dorsey, welcome. I'm sorry. You are absolutely correct. I met with a steering committee little think group on Tuesday, and one of the things we're looking at is funding, because the federal government has released Pell funds for individuals who are incarcerated, but it's only being released in Delaware currently to Delaware Tech, because they have been authorized to implement the pilot program, which is going to start in the Baylor Women's Correctional Facility. Eventually, I think it's supposed to transcend to all the prisons for opportunities, but Del State is looking at starting in Vaughn. Their problem, though, is Del State's problem is that there are no funds to assist them right now. The federal funding is going directly and specifically to Delaware Tech until 2023.
Okay, well then that's going to be working on legislation to ensure that there's equity with the distribution of those funds. Dr. Hudson, what are your thoughts around that?
Mm-hmm. It would be nice if the state could contribute something toward this process, seeing as Delaware Tech is, they're trying to acclimate to offering this particular service, and it is a 2-year degree, where Del State's would be a 4-year. It would be nice if there was funding available to assist in the process. Again, the Second Chance Pell funds are specifically for Del Tech because they were approved federally for this particular pilot. In July of 2023 is when funds become available for other colleges and universities, but Del State is very eager to get started now with offering the inside out higher education opportunity.
Excellent. Well, Del State being our HBCU in our state, I think this is a great opportunity.
They are also interested in working from the meeting on Tuesday. They're interested in working with Delaware Tech insofar as the connected degree programs are concerned. We have students who attend Delaware Tech for 2 years and earn their associates. Through this connected degree, all of the credits that are earned during that associate period will be transferred to Delaware State. So they're looking at students who could go through the human services program during incarceration and then transfer to Del State to finish out their social work. All their credits would be accepted. So we're looking at that as well.
Okay. We'll talk offline to make this happen. And if there's anyone else who is a member of our subcommittee who'd like to be involved, just let me know, please. Thank you, Dr. Hudson,
Awesome.
for a very important point. And
thank you.
I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, I wanted to thank you, Dr. Hudson, for mentioning that pilot program. I appreciate that additional information. I didn't know all of that. I did also want to add that the African American Task Force recently created a new subcommittee for education, and Representative Ray Moore is going to be the chair for that. So that would be a nice opportunity for synergy between our two subcommittees. And I know that she would love a piece of legislation like that. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you, Representative Lambert. That's what it's all about, working together. Appreciate that. Did
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Did anyone else have anything else they wanted to add before we turn it over to Subcommittee Member Louis Morley to give him an opportunity to talk about his economic empowerment opportunity?
If this is the last chance to share a potential recommendation, one last one that I look forward to potentially working on next year is when it comes to state contracting, which is one of the biggest topics that we discuss. If we could maybe revisit creating like a point system, because we know that when it comes to contracting, the most important part is the cost. But if we created a point system, I think that we could find a little space for equity where maybe we also have points for Black-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses. Maybe we have points for businesses that rehire second chance individuals. So that, of course, the most points would go to, the one that has the best cost, maybe has the best track record. But, the idea isn't fully formed yet. But my work with the Newcastle County Comprehensive Plan, the 2050 plan, that's come up more than once. So I just wanted to share it as a potential recommendation going forward.
Absolutely, Representative Lambert. And I believe you were in the meeting when we discussed procurement opportunities at the state level. So let's talk some more about how we can make that happen. And I think we probably need to have a conversation offline because there are some other factors that are weighing in too. Thank you, sir.
Sounds good. Thank you.
But at this time, I would like to turn over the meeting to Subcommittee Member Louis Morley for him to give us a brief update on the work that he's doing.
Well, thank you so much, Representative Dorsey Walker. So what we have now, so the whole push to renewable energy and clean energy was able to finally solidify an agreement with the manufacturer, really game-changing smart solar LED light pole that can run for 8 days with no sun. And it is not, it's a retroflex, it wraps around. So imagine a light pole wraps around it, the solar panel wraps around it, and so you can get sun from every angle. And it runs for 8 days if it doesn't shine. And then that pole also is smart because it can strengthen an existing Wi-Fi signal, or it can get signal directly from the tower and broadcast it out. So I have a whole formal proposal that I'm just reaching out to people and doing a presentation, showing them the possibilities. So you don't have to dig into the ground, no trenching, no light bills, no nothing. So you drop the pole in there, you have light. So doing Hurricane Harvey in Texas was under 6 feet of water and it still worked. It can withstand 185 miles wind on like the glass where, at 60, 75 miles, it blows over. So,
Mr. Morley, you're kind of going in and out, sir.
Correct. Can you hear me?
We can now.
Okay, I'm sorry.
You're really
Where did I break up? Yeah, I'm looking at my signal here also, and it's just, it's not ideal. Okay, so I guess I'll start over. So we offer a smart solar LED light pole that can run for 8 days without sun, right? So no trenching required, so you don't have to dig the ground to put it in. And it's smart also because it has Wi-Fi, whether you can expand an existing signal or you can collect signal directly from a tower and broadcast it. right? Strength and signal. Has gunshot detector cameras on it, and it can withstand high winds. So it's retroflex, it's circular. And I wish I had my presentation here to kind of show you guys the picture. So pretty much I'm just reaching out, and if anyone knows of anybody, I've talked to Newcastle County, reaching out to everybody I can, sharing this with them. I send it to Mr. Charlie Weatherspoon as well. So I would just want to do a presentation of it, because if it works out and I'm able to drum up enough business in this area, we're going to open up the same thing they have for the company in Louisiana, which is assembly factory. So we'll be able to assemble the products here, creating jobs and distribute it to kind of the market in this area. So this is, with all the clean energy push, this is a game changer. Everyone I shared it with love it. And they would like to, hey, where is it at? Can I touch, can I see? The closest place is Woodbridge, New Jersey. No one is not driving there. So I'm just really reaching out. Maybe there's a park somewhere that they've been trying to get lights to, they can't. We can do a pilot program where we drop some of these poles there so people can kind of touch and feel and you know, try everything out before they go and pulling the trigger on it. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. And I can send an email with a brief description, and I can do a full presentation with full backing of the company, which is a made in America product. Do a full presentation and see what synergies there are so we can drum up some business in this area. Because if I'm able to do that, we'll be able to open up an assembly plant here, hire more people, and that plant will business in this area. So that Philly, Jersey, Maryland area.
And be located.
Representative Walker, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am, Dr. Hudson.
And this is for Mr. Moore. You're looking at all of Delaware, so you'd be considering Sussex County, right? And the reason I ask is because new development, new home construction is booming. It's crazy down here. And there are a lot of developments going up, and the associations are determining, you know, their lighting packages and so far as illuminating the communities. The community that I live in is in desperate need of this service that you're talking about right now. We do not have enough illumination after dark, just in the development itself. So I'm thinking that maybe getting connected with some of the new builders and being able to talk to them, and then being invited to association meetings. We have one, I think, coming up shortly that I can definitely share your information with the association president. But I think that might be a way to go. And then looking at Sussex County, because again, new construction is crazy down here.
Absolutely, that would be great if you can do that.
I'd be glad to do it.
Thank you, Dr. Hudson. And I actually think that what you're doing, Subcommittee Member Morley, you may need to have a conversation with Representative Smith and Representative Lambert offline about ways to connect to various communities. And I know that Representative Smith is a member of the Small Business Caucus, and there may be opportunities there. I don't want to speak for him, but just letting you know.
I think there's definitely good cross collaboration opportunities with that one. And also just recently started the Life Science Bioscience Caucus. So there could be some good STEM and science-based opportunities too.
Thank you, Representative Smith. So Representative Morley, I would suggest connecting with Representative Smith and Representative Lambert offline.
Will do.
And Dr. Hudson just presented you with some opportunities in Sussex, and we'll look for some opportunities for you in Kent as well, in Newcastle.
Absolutely.
We are, okay, Newcastle County.
Absolutely. Definitely will. And the reason I'm reaching out to you guys, because if you're cold calling people, it's harder than someone saying, hey, I took a look at this product. It may be something you will find valuable. And then it's just easier that way. So I truly appreciate anything that you guys can do.
Excellent. Thank you for taking the time to present to us, Mr. Morley. Greatly appreciated. Well, if there aren't any other questions or concerns or anything else that anyone wants to bring to our attention, then I would like to call the meeting to a close. It is now 6:02. I thank each of you for your time, your talents, and your treasures, and for your willingness to work together to bring about economic empowerment opportunities in this great state of Delaware. Motion to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Oops.
Is there a second?
Madam Chair, are we going to have an opportunity for public comment?
Oh, I am so sorry. Oh, help me. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Got ahead of myself. It's the summer.
That's okay.
Thank you, Ms. Del Carlo.
We only have a couple people in the room, but I wanted to, check just to see. So if anybody in the public attendance list would like to make a comment, please raise your hand. And I see that Yvette Brown would like to make a comment. So I am unmuting you now. Okay, the floor is yours.
Love to at some point contribute from a business owner's perspective. But I just wanted to say thank you for allowing me to be here. There's so much that's running through my head right now. I would never try to even form a logical conversation about everything you just touched on, but just wanted you to know that I'm listening, I'm interested, and there's so much that I think could be said for everything you guys have discussed, and thank you.
Ms. Brown, where is your business? What is the name of your business and where is it located?
302 Notary Services Plus. I am in Newark, Delaware. I'm a mobile notary. However, one of the business opportunities that I'm seeing in Delaware is the need for virtual offices. They have them, but in terms of what we as notaries need, it's very lacking. I was able to get exactly what I needed in Pennsylvania, but I'm finding in Delaware, the cost is prohibitive for the type of services that we need. So that's something as a business owner, when you see an opportunity, you'd like to, I'm looking for how I can kind of meet that need. So a lot of the things you guys talked on or what the committee is organized about, I think would sit right in line with what you're attempting to do. And Representative Lambert, I just wanted to say I appreciate your interest in the whole green jobs. I was one of those Solar City employees that was impacted by Solar City here. I did I was a representative for Solar City Tesla. So I totally am on board with the need for more green energy jobs and opportunities.
Excellent. Thanks for your input and we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Can you ensure that our staff has your contact information? And as we move forward with legislation, we would like to invite you to be a part of helping to craft it, if you would agree.
Oh my God, yes,
Thank
absolutely.
you. Thank you so very much.
Please just let me know how I can get in touch and leave that type of information.
Ms. Brown, you could email African American Task Force at delaware.gov. I'm not sure if you can see the screen right now.
Okay, I see it right there. I can just email
great.
that. Will do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Else? Oh, I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Oh, no, Ms. Del Carlo, I was just reaching out to you to see if there were any other constituents who would like to speak.
You took the words out of my mouth. If anybody else would like to make a public comment, please raise your hand now. And it doesn't appear that anybody else would like to make a comment.
Well, before we conclude, I would like to say a special thank you to DTI, to Ms. Del Carlo, Ms. Diaz, to our staff for always being efficient and thorough, and to each of the subcommittee members. Thank you so very much for all that you do and all that you continue to do to make a difference in this great state of Delaware. And with that, I would like to call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you, Representative Lambert.
Second.
Thank you, Sir Charlie. All those in favor, salute by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Take
Appreciate
care. Be safe.
it. Have a great evening.
Best.
Thanks, everyone.